Hi guys, welcome back to Geeks 40k channel. Welcome to our latest 40k battle report. Today we are on this former jewel in the Imperium that has been attacked and overrun by the Black Legion, led by Abaddon himself. The forces of chaos are strong on this planet, but the Imperium have dispatched the Black Templar to try and thwart the ever-advancing 13th Crusade. So today's mission we are doing Emperor's Will. Objective markers are down for the chaos in their deployment zone. It is hidden in the ruins of one of the buildings that they have ripped apart on their rampage. And for the Templars, it is up as part of the first line defence of the former Imperial facility. HQ for the Chaos Space Marines down, taking a Chaos Lord. This guy's been upgraded with Terminator armor, comes with a Power Axe and a Combi Bolter. Second HQ choice, I am taking Abaddon. This guy is obviously as stock. I'm looking forward to running this. I always run the Horus Heresy miniature rather than the old and outdated 40k one. I just think it looks a hell of a lot better. Into troops, I am taking a 5-man Terminator squad. In here there is a Reaper cannon and a Power Fist. And because I'm running Abaddon and this Terminator squad, I'm running the formation Bringers of Despair from the Traitor Legions book. Basically makes these Terminators weapon skill 5 and means I can re-roll 1 failed lookouts per turn. Not the greatest formation, but hey, adds a little bit of flavour. And it's always nice to take Terminators as troops. Second troop choice, I'm taking a 5-man tactical squad. In here there is a aspiring champion with a Power Fist and a plasma gun, and there is also a melt gun in here. These guys will be riding around in a Rhino. 5-man tactical squad, these guys are basically stock, all with bolters, and going to be sitting in the back of the board, hopefully holding me down in an objective. Into elites, I am taking a 5-man possessed squad. These guys again come as stock and obviously be rolling on the table when in combat. Next elite choice, I am taking an 8-man Khorne Berserker squad. These guys will be riding around in the first of the heavy support choices, which is the Land Raider, and the Chaos Lord will be joining them. Before I go into the rest of the heavy support, I'm just going to go into fast attack, which is obviously the trusted Helldrake with the Bale Flamer. Looking forward to toasting me some Black Templars today. And finally, for the Chaos, I'm taking 2 Defilers. So these guys come equipped with the Battle Cannons, Reaper Auto Cannons, and the Power Surge. So that is my 2,000 points of Chaos Space Marines that are hopefully going to be doing justice for the Dark Gods.
Okay guys, so here's my 2k of Black Templars, starting out with my Warlord, who's a chaplain in Terminator armor, and he's joined by a squad of 6 Assault Terminators with 2 Thunderhammers, and their ride is a Land Raider Crusader, complete with multi-melter turret. I've got 2 squads of Crusaders, with a Power Fist and a Melt Gun embedded in each, and a Sword Brother with a Power Sword and a Combi Melter. In addition, one squad is joined by a Tech Marine, equipped with a Servo Harness, and the other is joined by a Chaplain in Power Armor. Both of those have Rhinos as a transport. And then looking at something a bit heavier, got the classic Vindicator and the Trilaz Predator, and my Sakaran, which I just love. Such a cool model. Really do like that. And in the air we've got a Storm Talon equipped with assault cannons and a Storm Raven equipped with multi-melter.
The first of the Defilers is holding up the right-hand flank of the battlefield. I've kind of left a lot of the old fortification ground empty for the time being. Next to him in the middle, we have the Land Raider, we have the Rhino containing the 5-man squad, and the second 5-man squad holding on to the Chaos objective down here. And they're again being flanked by another, well, the second of the Defilers. So both of these guys laying down lots of fire as they crawl their way across the battlefield. And hopefully my Possessed running up the left-hand flank of the battlefield unopposed to get in and cause carnage. And obviously in reserve I have Abaddon himself. He'll be deep striking in with his Terminators and my Helldrake coming on to torch the Loyalist Marines. The Land Raider and the Vindicator are hunkered down in the ruins of the old city. Vindicator got some nice shots off across down the roadway at the first of the Defilers. Land Raider a little bit parked, a little bit blocked in, but I'm sure the Vindicator might move and let this out with the Terminators inside the Land Raider. That is a dangerous prospect for me, and I need to get them and that tank gone. Relic. On the opposite flank of the battlefield, holding on to the objective, we have the Predator, we have the second of the Rhinos, and we have the Sakaran tank, all hunkered down in the first line defence of the fortification, surrounding the bunker, slightly protected by the anti-tank traps. One and the second Rhino is parked up in one of the ruined old buildings, ready to move up. There's a lot of open ground between the Chaos and the Black Templars. I think this might be a bit of a slaughter fest. The Templars might need to stay still and let the Chaos come to them. In reserve for the Black Templars, we have the Storm Raven and the Storm Talon, so a little bit of air superiority. But we do have the Helldrake for the Chaos in the air. So it is Chaos to go first, unless the Black Templar can seize the initiative, which they do not, for the glory of the Dark Guards. First of the Defilers is on its path. It is now crawling its way across the rubble of the battlefield, looking at laying its shell down in the shooting phase. Land Raider have moved forward 12 inches. Looking at maybe snap firing one of the last cannons into one of these tanks that are ahead of me. This thing's motoring forward as quickly as it can to get my Khorne Berserkers and my Chaos Lord out and into combat. Second of the Defilers is on his march up the battlefield now as well. He is also looking at laying down his shell quite nicely. And finally, the Possessed Marines. They have moved forward and I ran them 1 whole inch. They are stumbling their way through the rubble. A horrendous round of shooting for the very first turn. The 2 Defilers opened up. The first one picked its target at the Sakaran, and the Rhino down here hit true. Managed not to damage the Rhino, which is a little bit annoying, but the Sakaran took a hull point and has lost its left-hand side. Las Cannon, the Chaos Land Raider opened up. No damage done with the 1 snapfire in Las Cannon. Second of the Defilers opened up with his battle cannon shell, hitting the Predator, removing 1 hull point, penetrating, destroying its right-hand las cannon. So we are down 2 hull points on 2 vehicles and 2 las cannons. I'll take that for a first turn.
Black Templar movement was pretty much non-existent. I've moved the Predator up towards the defence line just to gain a cover save on it. Left the Sakaran where it is because it's far too big to get obscured by anything anyway. Then I hopped out my Tech Marine from the Rhino that's just behind it. And he's grown a hull point back thanks to some skill with the servo harness. So the Sakaran is back up to its full contingent of 3 hull points. Then we moved rapidly on to shooting. My Predator fired the 2 remaining las cannons at the Land Raider down here and managed to take 1 hull point away with a glance. And then the Sakaran opened up at the Defiler, and that Defiler's gone, boom, took a couple of weapons off it and then ultimately just ran out of hull points. So that's quite a nice little win. I'm not too much looking forward to getting that Land Raider into my lines next turn, however, so that's not ideal. Managed not to slow down the advance of that at all.
The first of my reserves are on. Abaddon and the Chaos Terminators have deep striked in. They have scattered a little bit. So, yeah, they're on the board. They're safe. That's all that matters to me. They are really, really close to the Black Templars lines. They're looking at going into a tank next turn if they can survive a round of shooting. Unfortunately, my Helldrake is not on. But to hopefully get the attention of the Black Templars, the Khorne Berserkers and the Chaos Lord are out of the Land Raider that's moved up 6 inches. They are going to be going into the Predator, hopefully destroying that, taking away one of the biggest threats. The Rhino right at the back has started its approach up, just shuffling around the side of the building. The Defiler has moved up nicely within charge range of the Vindicator. Probably will lay down some fire first before it goes in. And finally, the Possessed Marines have moved out of the building and will be running in the shooting phase. Possessed Marines have ran up another 1 inch. They're really struggling to get across this battlefield. I don't know why. They're in open ground. The Defiler opened up with the Auto Reaper Cannon and the Battle Cannon. No damage done to the Vindicator. We're going to have to go into combat to try and destroy that. The Land Raider opened up with its las cannon at the Sakaran tank, hitting, penetrating, immobilising, and taking off another hull point. There was one repaired last turn, so it's back down to 2. It's a little bit annoying. They have stayed still. Over there, Abaddon and the Terminators have ran up 6 inches, nice and close, baiting those Black Templars inside the Rhino. We're going to head into assault. Hopefully we'll have a dead Predator. Hopefully we'll have a dead Vindicator. Defiler let me down. It did not make it into combat with the Vindicator. However, what didn't let me down were the Khorne Berserkers. They went in, they had a bazillion attacks and stripped this thing of all its hull points. I think there was like 5 glancing hits and 2 penetrating hits, and it had 2 left. So it is gone. It is out of hull points. The Khorne Berserkers are nicely up in the face of the Templars. There's going to be, I'm guessing, some retaliation fire landing on the heads of these guys. We have got a Sakaran and we do have a Vindicator quite close, but the Defiler should be going up and hopefully doing some damage as it does in combat. And we also have the Chaos guys, or Abaddon, and the Terminators looking at moving in and getting into the Black Templars and just tightening that noose just a little bit more.
So the Black Templars were clearly not massively keen on a bunch of Terminators and Abaddon the Despoiler appearing from behind the fence. So my Rhino has decided to reverse over the barricades, which it's done successfully, parked up behind to the disabled Sakaran, and then its contents of Marines have piled out, really just to, if I'm honest, to open up some distance and buy us a bit of time before that onslaught occurs. The Sakaran itself is disabled, but the Tech Marine is going to have a little look into that and see what he can do this turn. My Vindicators ploughed through the building. I don't really want to take the suicide shot, or potential suicide shot, on the Land Raider, but it might come to that. It has also left room in the next road along for my Land Raider to appear, and will be using the assault cannons and, if necessary, the multi-melter to hopefully deal with that Defiler. In other good news, the cavalry have arrived. The Storm Talon is going to give the Terminators who've just arrived a bit of a surprise, hopefully. Whilst my Storm Raven is hopefully going to deal with the Land Raider that's down here to avoid the suicide shot that we talked about just a few moments ago. So, starting out at the back of the battlefield, the surprise attack from the Storm Talon has claimed 2 Terminators. Abaddon had a couple of guys take one for the team. He was actually the closest target, and Lookout surged twice, so 2 of his buddies have fallen under shell fire from the Storm Talon. Staying in the air, the Storm Raven has fired at the Defiler but has failed to cause any injuries at all. Slightly more positive result in the centre of the battlefield, where the Sakaran has popped the Land Raider and that has been destroyed. The Tech Marine at the back has simultaneously managed to fix the hull point again, so back up to 3 hull points. Unfortunately, a slight tale of woe on Stupid Street down here, What I really should have done is hopped out the duty Terminators from that Land Raider, but maybe being slightly cocky, just assumed that assault cannons and a multi-melter might actually destroy the Defiler, when in reality it's only taken one hull point off. So what could have now been a nice charge in there, I've denied myself by being a bit of an idiot. And whilst talking about being an idiot, since I didn't have to do the suicide shot of the Vindicator on the Land Raider because it's already been destroyed, I dropped a big pie plate of death into the centre there of those Berserkers, and fortunately it didn't scatter at all, so 4 guys bought it as a result of that blast.
The Rhino right at the back of the battlefield is continuing his slow drive up. He's got another 6 inches. Left hand flank, the Defiler's about to go into the Land Raider, should quite make easy work of that, he says, which now means I'm going to mess it up. But he's been joined by the Possessed Marines. I think these guys might just loiter, wait for hopefully that Land Raider to go boom, Terminators to pop out, and then we'll have a Defiler and Possessed Marines in combat with that squad down there. Cool Berserkers and the Chaos Lord. Chaos Lord is fearless, so these guys are fine. Looking at going in. Now, I know these guys are quite juicy in combat, but if I charge in, these 2 guys get 5 attacks each, and plus my Chaos Lord. Bit tasty in combat, so they will probably, hopefully, murder them. The remaining Terminators and Abaddon have moved up. They're looking at going into the Sakaran. So we are tightening this noose. The Black Templars have managed to break out a little bit with their 2 flyers. My Helldrake has not come on this turn. It's a little bit annoying. I was looking at bringing him on, vector striking this thing, and then burning these guys down here. But unfortunately, it will have to wait till next turn. The Land Raider's still alive. It's got 1 hull point left. That's me getting cocky and arrogant, saying I was going to blow it up. Defiler hit it and hit it hard. Just not enough to pop it. I took my Khorne Berserkers and my Chaos Lord into the Sword Brethren squad. I should have taken him into the Vindicator, to be honest, because I've forgotten how nasty these guys are in combat. And they killed the 2 remaining Khorne Berserkers and my Chaos Lord. That hurt, and hurt quite a lot. Sakaran has gone though, the Terminator's made it in, and Abaddon and the Powerfist guy just punched it in the back, blowing it sky high. Not as good as I wanted, at least the Sakaran has gone. Yeah, that was a tactical error. Should have taken those guys into the Vindicator, blowing it up, maybe killing a couple of Sword Brethren guys in the resulting blasts, but oh well.
So Rich has thrown me a bit of a lifeline there by not destroying the Land Raider. As you can see, I've not made the same mistake again. I've moved back and unloaded my Terminators, and we're going to shoot and, if necessary, assault that thing just to get rid of it. My Storm Raven, well, I was hoping to use that to destroy the Rhino, but I'm obliged to move further than I wanted to. So we've overshot that, but we've still got some targets down here in the building sitting on top of the relic. So it's not all bad news there. My Vindicators moved forwards to get a shot on the Rhino and hopefully take that down. And behind it you can see the other Rhino has emerged from the building and is making its way up the battlefield. My Storm Talons also continued the assault forwards, just about enough room to get another round of shooting into the back of Abaddon and his Terminator posse. My other Crusaders squad that exited the Rhino earlier on, they're starting to make their way over towards the other objective on the opposite side of the board. They're a bit squished. There's not a lot of room to get through that Land Raider. I'm also conscious of the fact that at some point there's going to be a Helldrake and a Flamer template of death coming my way. So doing the best that I can to try and spread these guys out in the space that we've got. I've also moved the Rhino around down here a little bit. I'm hoping, I don't know if I'm 100% right on this with the rules, but I'm hoping that's really going to slow down the assault and maybe even prevent it, because there's not really enough room to place any models around that building. So I'm just trying to make that as difficult as I possibly can. So unfortunately this turn the Land Raider was fairly ineffectual and failed to do any damage to the Defiler at all. Looks like we're going into combat down here, boys. The Storm Talon did do a little bit of damage, managed to get one wound on Abaddon, and again one of his buddies has dodged into the way and taken one for the team. So another wound taken off down here, which is good. The Vindicator managed to drop a shell across the battlefield and deny these guys their metal box, and also killed one of them in the resulting explosion. So they're a little bit cross, and Rich has already pointed out there's a multi-melter and a power fist in there, so that just became an interesting squad to destroy. My Raven did get a shot off into that building, but either through cover or armour those guys survived, and nothing was done there of any significance. So the Defiler did succumb to the charge of the Templars, but unfortunately before it was taken down, it's taken 2 of my Terminators along with it, which is a bit of a disappointment, but at least that Defiler is out of the way. However, it's now Rich's turn, and I can't wait to see the delights of the Hell Turkey appear.
The Helldrake is on the board. It is ready to lay its flamer down onto the Brethren squad down there, but it is already passed over the Storm Raven, doing a vector strike as it went over the top. And I managed to do a glance. It's D3 hits on a flyer. Unfortunately, I rolled a 1, so I got 1 hit, strength 7, and managed to glance it. So, yay. Rest of the movement. The guys that have blown out of their Rhino, I've just basically moved forward and spread out. I'm going to take a lucky shot with the melt gun, see if I can pop the Vindicator. Probably quite unlikely, but you never know. Possessed Marines are on their move up. They are sneaking their way into the back lines of the Black Templar. I am actually going to run these guys as well. And then finally, Abaddon and the 2 remaining Terminators are looking at taking out the Rhino. I was possibly looking at going up the gap here around the back and into the Land Raider. It was a long old charge. Might as well take the target that is right in front of me. The Possessed Marines are really doing my head in now. I've ran them again. This is the 3rd turn, and 3rd turn I have rolled a 1. Yay! They're really stumbling their way up that goddamn battlefield. Anyway, the Helldrake obviously bell-flamed the Brethren squad that down here, killing off 3 of them. So there's a few guys left down there, a little bit more than what I wanted. The melt gun from the tactical squad that came out of the Rhino opened up at the Vindicator, doing no damage whatsoever. But on other news, Abaddon and the Terminators made it into the Rhino, blowing that one sky high quite easily. I have a plan for them if they can survive another round of shooting from the stupid little Storm Talon.
So the Land Raider has moved up along Stupid Street and collected the Terminators that remain after the incident with the Defiler, and they will continue to make their way across the board. My Storm Talon has come along to counter what is now public enemy number 1, the Helldrake, as has my Storm Raven. So manoeuvring around the building here and looking to bring all weapons to bear on that and get it removed as promptly as possible. In the centre, my Vindicators moved up, and I probably will do something stupid in a minute and throw a massive template down right in front of me. But the reason I've had to move forward is I want to release the Rhino down the back to again start making its charge across the battlefield and start closing the ground up to this objective down here. One little thing I forgot to do last time, which I'm not making the same mistake again, is getting the Tech Marine up behind the Land Raider and see if we can fix it a little bit. So we'll be rolling on that in just a second to see if he brings a hull point back. So the positive news is that the Helldrake is dead. Believe it or not, most of the damage was actually done by the Land Raider's assault cannon. So even though it had to get 6s and 6s again, it still managed to take out 2 hull points, which is pretty impressive. The Storm Raven let the side down and did absolutely nothing. And then the Storm Talon had to finish it off with the assault cannon. So it is at least destroyed. But I have a feeling that I've just handed my Vindicator straight to these guys. I was hoping to use the Storm Talon to take these guys down. But obviously that had to fire at the Helldrake instead. I even was stupid enough to try and drop a massive template on these guys. Fortunately, I guess in one respect it scattered away from me. It did hit these guys in here, but they managed to get cover save. So net result is these guys are still hanging around, and they've got a Vindicator to destroy in the next turn. So there you go, Rich. You're welcome for that.
Thanks. The Possessed Marines have moved up 6 inches and overran them, and they ran 5 inches. Check these guys out, just right at the end. They decided to move their ass. Well done, boys, well done. So they're in and securing me line breaker at the moment. Abaddon and the Terminators have moved across the line. I've had to run them. They only moved 1 inch across the barricade, which is a little bit annoying, so I've had to run them up. They ran 5, so they're now contesting this objective because these guys are troops. They are objective secured. Yay. So, that is a drawn objective. The tactical squad opened up the Vindicator with the melt gun. No damage done. Went into combat with the Power Fist. Penetrated it twice, removing the cannon and immobilising it and leaving it on 1 hull point. So it's now just a bit of a steaming piece of scenery. And that's kind of it. Bit of a short and sweet turn. Me losing my Helldrake stung quite a lot, actually. I was kind of looking at bringing him this way, possibly vector striking the Vindicator and then burning these guys off this objective, allowing Abaddon and the Terminators up and onto it. Unfortunately, that didn't happen because Jonathan removed it for me. Thanks, mate.
You're welcome. So the Rhino has whizzed on by the pretty useless wreck that is now the Vindicator. My Storm Talon has made its way over to try and bolster the beleaguered Marines that are desperately clinging on to the objective in the face of Abaddon and his warband. My Storm Raven has left the area and headed off towards the Possessed Marines that are cheekily trying to score line breaker underneath my nose. So we're going to try and pick those off this turn. And the Land Raiders advanced and dropped off its cargo of troops. And the Tech Marine is diligently following it along. And again, we'll try and fix it again this turn and nurse it slightly back more to health. So between the Storm Talon and the Crusader squad down the bottom here, we gave Abaddon and his Terminators a bit of a beating. Both Terminators are dead. Abaddon is on 3 wounds, which does beg the question of whether I assault him or not, but I do have a feeling I might be throwing away victory points if it turns out that we don't get a follow-on turn. The Storm Raven pretty much wiped out the Possessed Marines, but one of them's left going, and Rich delighted in telling me that he's fearless. So if this is the end of the game, then that is line breaker sorted out, but we'll have to see if it carries on. My Land Raider opened up at what's left of the squad down here in front of the Vindicator. It's killed 2 guys off through some fairly lucky rolls, which I'm pretty pleased about. And the Chaplain managed to pop off one of the Marines down here, which admittedly has opened up the charge range a little bit, but thanks to his Warlord trait, he's going to be able to re-roll his charge anyway, so I'm prepared to take that gamble. So the Chaplain and his squad made it into combat with the Chaos Marines in the building down here and made pretty swift work of them, and are now sitting pretty on top of the objective at the end of turn 5. I will probably get slated for this, but I have elected to be a little bit of a coward and not charge into Abaddon. If those guys get wiped out, then I lose that objective, whereas if the game finishes now, that is at least contested. So I've elected to take the safe option and assume that we're not going to continue, but we'll roll the dice now and see if we get a turn 6.
Which we do.
Which we do.
The 2 remaining tactical Marines have gone into the Rhino. We melted it, we penetrated it, we immobilised it. We then went into assault, and we hit it with a Power Fist, and we only managed to take off another hull point, but it is now crew stunned as well. So it's got 1 left. Really annoying that this thing has not gone pop. The 1 remaining Possessed Marine has jumped over the ruin of the building, hopefully securing himself a little bit more cover, and he can survive securing me. Linebreaker Abaddon made it into combat with the squad down here. He opened up with his bolter first, killing off 1 And then we went to assault. We hit them with the sword and just absolutely minced them. So they have all gone. I've also consolidated back about 4 or 5 inches and onto the objective.
So first and foremost, the guys who smashed the back of the Rhino pretty soon wished they hadn't. They got flamed, they got melt gunned, and then they got bolted to death. That squad's been removed. Then my Storm Raven opened up at the Possessed Marine who was trying to sneak Linebreaker, and he's dead thanks to the multi-melter. And fire rained from the sky from the Storm Talon as well. Rich had some really unlucky rolling here, so the assault cannons alone, he managed to roll Snake Eyes on the 2 wounds that I caused on Abaddon. He had 3 that left him down to 1. And then the Skyhammer missile system opened up. And he's dead. Which means Rich is actually tabled.
So that's it then, guys. That is the end of the game. And it is a victory for the Black Templars. It has been quite a bloody affair. It was quite close up to the end of that turn 6. But it is tabling for the Chaos. They've been pushed back into the warp. And the Templars stand strong. So then, guys, that is the end of the game. And as I just said in the little summary at the end, that was really close, probably up to about turn 6, when the Templars managed to table the Chaos and send them screaming back into the warp. Abaddon, him, Dave, however you say it. It was down to 3 wounds. I lost 2 wounds. I rolled Snake Eyes, and that's never a good way to lose 2 wounds to your Warlord. Somebody as hard as Abaddon, it's tough. Unit of the game for the Chaos. It's either going to be Abaddon and the Terminators. They killed off a Sakaran, they killed off a Rhino, they killed off a tactical squad, or the Sword Brethren squad. Or the Helldrake. The Helldrake, even though he came on, did a Vector Strike and did a damage against the Flyer, and then burnt like only 3. It kind of panicked John and what he did in the game and about getting his Sword Brethren out of Rhinos.
Didn't want to get out of vehicles because I knew they were going to be starting.
Yeah, he just didn't want to get out because he knew that the second they were on the ground and the Helldrake came on, they'd be flamed. Yeah, I'd say probably Abaddon or the Helldrake. The Possessed Marines running 3 turns of rolling ones on your run moves is just not helpful, and I didn't really know what to do with them, so I was kind of sending them up for Linebreaker. They were confronted with a Land Raider and some Terminators, which they're never going to win against.
He kind of went round, didn't he?
Yeah, kind of went round them and up the back of the board. It's kind of the plan, but it just fell short right at the end. I could take them into Sword Brethren squads, but Sword Brethren squads, I keep forgetting how tasty they are in combat. You take Khorne Berserkers in, even though they're down on strength with the Chaos Lords, you think, I've got a good chance here against a 10-man tactical squad. But Sword Brethren, geez, they're tough. They are really, really tough. They hit and they hit hard, and they wipe them out. So yeah, that was a tactical error for me. Maybe I should take, like I said in the video, take them into the Vindicator and not the Sword Brethren squad. I think the same result would have happened maybe just a turn later, but we'd have got rid of their Vindicator. What about you, John? What about your man of the match?
I think it's the Flyers. Really did well this turn. Sometimes they did good, sometimes not so good, but this time they were pretty tasty, flying around, taking a lot of key targets down, like a Baden right at the end on the Storm Talon. You can't argue with that. It also would have cost you a victory point with the Possessed Marine at the end as well. So you can't beat the mobility of those things and being able to shoot and take targets down. And be aggressive right across the board. Yeah. Really pleased they dealt with the Helldrake really quickly, because that would have been a completely different game. If, for one, the Helldrake had turned up early, and then if it had stopped on the game a bit longer, then that would have been a real problem. So yeah, the Flyers did really well out of that lot. I'm really happy. I really like the Sakaran again. It was good. I mean, it got killed pretty quickly, but it did cause a lot of damage while it was on the table.
They always do, to be honest. They're a nasty tank. They really are. Shankars can't take them.
Yeah, good bit of kit. I really like it, and I love the model as well. I always have done. So those I'd say overall the Flyers really.
Yeah. So if you'd like to leave us a comment, guys, it's great to hear your feedback. 2 armies that Black Templars come on the channel every so often, but it's been a while since my Chaos have been on the channel. And with the new Traitor Legion book, it's kind of reinvigorated that love for them a little bit with some of the formations in there. So yeah, it is good. Do I buy more Chaos? I've got enough. I've got enough to paint. Anyway,
do it.
No. So yeah, please leave us a comment. It'd be great to hear your feedback on this battle report. Leave us a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And we will see you guys on the next one.